Hello, everyone. My name is Lila, and I am the host for this evening's Taxonomy Tuesday and activity conducted by the New Jersey Mycological Association every Tuesday evening. Here in the winter, we try to have some short topics presented, and we're going to have one of those this evening, and we'll follow that up with looking at some observations, either in alignment with the topic at hand or recent finds, either this year or in a previous year. So looking at stuff from February or that fall into the category of poisonous mushrooms. So tonight, we're fortunate to have club member Hunter presenting on poisonous mushrooms. So Hunter, if you're ready to go, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Just one second. Do you see my PowerPoint or no?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, and video is playing there.
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay. So I'll try to make this short, but it is almost impossible to talk, and I know you'll be thinking like, oh, why aren't you going to talk about this or that? I can't talk about everything and make it short. So if you have stuff to add, let's do it at the end. Um, so you see the squirrel is grabbing this mushroom and is probably going to enjoy it, but that's not something we want to do. This mushroom contains ibotenic acid, which turns into mucimol, and it's a toxin that will cause drowsiness followed by intense inebriation. And I mean intense inebriation, so not fun. And then for the next 4 hours, a hyperactive state of confusion, muscular spasms, delirium, and visual hallucinations set in, followed by drowsiness and coma-like deep sleep, upon which recovery usually follows. However, there have been very minimal fatalities, so I think there's a 1 to 5% fatality rate, and not necessarily. And so if you get treatment, that would involve having your stomach pumped. Otherwise, yeah, you just kind of get through this bad drunken state, hopefully alive. And so the mushroom that squirrel was uh, probably going to eat was Amanita chrysoblema, and this is it here. It has a yellow cap. Sometimes they'll be more orange or even red, but typically yellow. Large white to yellow universal veil fragments on the cap, a fragile skirt-like ring, which may not be present actually at all, and then a swollen base with concentric rings, which is probably, I think, one of the most important characteristics to note is these concentric rings at that bulbous base. So here's that same mushroom. So they can have an orange hue as mentioned. So this Amanita chrysoblema is a member of a group, the Amanita muscaria group, that contains some other Amanitas, and it includes the fly agaric or Amanita muscaria. So this is the classic Mario mushroom, the emoji mushroom, and so this typically is more of a real red cap, and with white velar material on the top, but it'll also have those concentric rings. And so there's a group of these mushrooms. The true Amanita muscaria is in the dark red up in Alaska. And then there are like smatterings, like findings in the West. It's not impossible, but typically it's Amanita flavivulata, which is also a real bright red Amanita. And then over on our side of the country, we have that Amanita chrysoblema, the yellow capped one, and then down in the southeast, Amanita persicina. And these all contain the ibotenic acid uh, that turns into mucimol. So here's that Amanita persicina, and we have looked at it here before. When I found it, sometimes it's like a bubblegum pink, but the books say peach to pink, but often it's like a real bubblegum pink, and to dull red. And the veil remnants, the warts are a little bit more subtle on this. Typically, there's a fragile skirt-like ring. And those concentric zones at the base are less defined than in chrysoblema or muscaria. So there's another group that also contains the abotenic acid, and basically it's a cream to yellow to tan version of these mushrooms we've already looked at with the white to yellow velar material on the cap. And these are the Amanita pantherinas, the type species and what the group is named after. And in the middle, we have one of the members, Amanita multisquamosa. These actually contain more of that toxin than the muscaria group. So these are highly toxic. Um, on that note, there with very specific, careful, a very specific, special, careful cooking method, these mushrooms can actually be rendered edible. I do not recommend it at all. I'm just saying it because none of the other toxins that we're going to talk about have that that is not possible. So I just thought I'd point that out. So one of the ways to tell the Panther group, and I probably, if I make mistakes, we can feel free to correct me, but I'd sort of rather wait till the end, but I think I got this. They have a more collar-like roll of veil tissue at the base or a sock-like look. And so as opposed to those multiple concentric rings. All amanitas have a white spore print and emerge from a egg-shaped form that is called basically a universal veil. And so all those warts or veil remnants came from this covering that covered the mushroom, and then as the mushroom matured, it left that. But in other species of amanitas, the universal veil will leave other features. For example, in mushrooms, in amanitas containing amatoxins, actually, first of all, let me show you this mushroom that contains amatoxins. So this is Amanita phalloides, the death cap. This year alone, or this season, which starts around the holidays or in early December, 39 people were poisoned by this mushroom, and there were at least 4 fatalities due to consumption of the death cap. So it has sort of like a green yellow hue to the caps. They're fairly dry. It's going to have a white spore print like all amanitas. And it has you can see some velar material on that bottom left specimen, and the one on the right that's kind of tucked under. That's pretty typical, like a large patch of velar material, unlike our chrysoblema and those members of the muscaria group. So these contain amatoxins, and amatoxins are a combination of toxins. So the death cap is not native to the US, but it is infiltrating into the country on both coasts. This is the iNaturalist distribution of the death cap, and they believe it's just a matter of time before it spreads further. So here in the east, the eastern United States, we have another Amanita that contains amatoxins, and that the features of this Amanita are formed by the partial veil that you see on the left separating from the cap and leaving an ring or annulus that you see on the right, and then that universal veil, instead of leaving concentric rings like it does in the muscaria group, it leaves this vulva or sac-like structure. So it's actually a pretty long list from what I can tell of destroying angels of mushrooms that contain of these white veiled mushrooms with vulvas that contain amatoxins. And the type species is in the center, Amanita bisporigera. And then we just have a couple more examples, but I think the list is growing actually, from what I could tell. So Amanitas aren't the only genus, members of the Amanita genus aren't the only mushrooms to contain the amatoxins. Galerina marginata also contains these amatoxins. So Galerina are called deadly Galerina or funeral bells. So these are deadly poisonous mushrooms, and most of the time you don't really see the little veil that you see on the left. This is a very fresh, immature one. More typically, you'll see them looking like they do on the right, and instead of the veil, it'll be just kind of a kind of a ring zone, or you'll be able to tell where the veil had been. So these are brown to tawny caps. They have a rusty brown spore print. They grow on wood, usually decaying wood. They have that thin ring or ring zone, which may disappear, and attached yellowish to brownish gills. So when one consumes a mushroom and so this toxin cannot be cooked out. It's going to be poisonous no matter what. There's no way to render it safe. So it's a three-phase process that occurs when these are consumed. In phase one, the victim will experience stomach cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea. And then, if they're not treated, there's that, well, they might think they're fine because there's a kind of a day or two lapse where they feel fine. And then this third phase starts that it begins to destroy the liver and kidneys, results in coma, and if untreated, eventually death. So there's no known antidote, but the Silibinin or milk thistle derivative is kind of the most promising thing we have, and it prevents the amatoxins from damaging the liver. So there's sort of this recirculation of the amatoxins that goes on. It's like they hit you once, and then as your liver tries to process them, it hits you again. And so I think this milk thistle stops that kind of second strike. Um, uh, but if you realize early enough, you may be able to, by emptying the stomach and charcoal filtration of the blood, maybe avoid a liver transplant, which often is required if you even live. So this is a very, very dangerous toxin. It's also in some of the Lepiotas, and this is the freckled dapperling on the left. So Lepiotas also they have a lot of things in common with Amanitas, and I believe they're closely related. They also have a white spore print. Instead of those warts on the cap, they have actual scales. Their gills are free, crowded, and forking. And there's a handful of them that are highly toxic. Lepiota cristata is a really tiny little one, but it's contains the amatoxins. And so this chlorophyllum molybdites, it used to be called the green-spored Lepiota, and it's commonly called the sickener. But even though it used to be called the green-spored Lepiota, it does not contain amatoxins. It contains a toxin called molybdophilin that causes extreme gastrointestinal irritation, often resulting in vomiting, bloody diarrhea, and hypovolemic shock. And I believe this is the mushroom that sickens the most people in the United States. It likes to grow in yards, in grassy areas where children play and dogs run, and so a lot of people are poisoned by this mushroom. It's um, typically not deadly, but you get very sick from it, and it does have a green spore print. So the muscarine is another very, very dangerous toxin in some mushrooms. And there's actually quite a few genuses that it's present in. Before we get to those, I'll just tell you what happens should you ingest muscarine. Within 15 to 30 minutes after ingestion, you'll start getting symptoms similar to that as if you had been exposed to a nerve agent. There's an acronym called sludge to describe that. Salivation, lacrimation or tearing, urination, defecation, gastritis, emesis or vomiting. And this is all happening at one time. So definitely not fun. Um, there is a treatment if caught early. Atropine acts as an antidote, and I'm not going to go into the mechanics of that time-wise, and also depth-wise. A lot of it is really beyond me. But there is an antidote. So the genuses that have members that contain the muscarine are Inocybaceae, Clitocyboid, Mycena, Entoloma, and a couple of boletes. So a couple boletes in the west. So we're going to just look at the general characteristics of those groups, and all probably all of them are changing and have been broken into more genuses. So I'm going to say general characteristics of the Inocybaceae family. So these are little brown mushrooms with conical caps and a knob or umbo, fibrous or frayed looking, thin, fibrous, cylindrical stipes. These are mycorrhizal mushrooms, and they often have a lilac to purplish shade somewhere on their stem, on their cap. Not always, but often. And then you can see on the right, this is Brandon's photo, and I've labeled all the photos I borrowed, except for this one. But this is one of Brandon's observations. So I'll have to get the label on this one. So often the spores have nodules or spines. So here's that inosperma that I showed a couple of weeks ago. It's about the only, Inocybaceae mushroom picture that I can have any like really understanding of. But you can see the fibrous stem, and on the right you can see, top right you can see the umbos, and then on the bottom right is a sort of a look of a different mushroom that I believe is pretty typical of these fibrous capped Inocybaceae. So then the Clitocyboid mushrooms. And so again, I'm using this kind of general term because Clitocybe's been broken up a lot as well. But generally these are the gills are broadly attached on these mushrooms and or run down. They're often funnel shaped or even hourglass. They have a white, yellowish to pinkish spore print. They're typically decomposers of litter in hardwoods and conifers or in lawns, meadows, or other grassy areas. So this photo I borrowed from Jacob Kalishman with his permission. This is Clitocybe Dialbata, the ivory funnel, and it's also called the sweating mushroom. I learned from Dave just today, and actually two members of the Northeast Pennsylvania Club that Dave knows actually ate this and were sickened by it. Both survived. Um, but one at least one has quit mushrooming altogether. That was enough, but the other one supposedly just sweated out. um and so I'm not sure what to say about that. I think these are very dangerous mushrooms, and you'll want to stay away. The toxin can be deadly for sure. So there's at least a few Mycena that contain it. Um, and this is muscarine that we're talking about. And this on the right is Mycena pura. And these have a white spore print. Mycena in general are small, conical, or bell-shaped. They have striations on the cap, thin, fragile stems, attached gills, and many are bioluminescent. And we can just take a quick peek at this Mycena pura, which is a poisonous mushroom, and Dave's other photos. So you can see the gills and just get a closer look. Okay, so that's right. Then also the Entoloma. There's some Entoloma that contain muscarine. These are pink spored mushrooms. They're saprobic and grow mostly on the ground. They have attached gills, and as Michael Quo described, angular, warded, or ribbed spores. And so this is another photo of spores that Brandon took of Entoloma. So really typical looking, that angular shape to them. And so that may be one of the easiest ways to identify Entoloma, is to look at the spores under a microscope, because they are generally, there's a lot of little brown ones. Some of them are yellow or orange, but the one of them that's probably most known as being poisonous, containing muscarine, is this wood pink gill. And I mean, if you look at these are all the same mushroom observations on INAT. If you look at it, it's kind of pretty nondescript, pretty unexciting. I mean, the umbo's telling, but they look a lot like some pluteas or other mushrooms for sure. So that spore print will spore print and then looking at the spore under the microscope would be really helpful to ID these Entoloma. So finally for muscarine, we've have two red pored boletes in the west, Rubroboletus satanus and Rubroboletus calopus. And this picture I've had for years, and I think it comes from a game I play, but I it's not credited, and I apologize. And so I wanted to mention the jack-o'-lanterns here because they do contain trace amounts of muscarine, but apparently the chemicals or compounds that are troublesome in this mushroom are something called illuden S and illuden M. So jack-o'-lanterns are these bright orange mushrooms that grow from wood, typically in a cespitous fashion, meaning they radiate out from one central point. And they will make you sick, but typically they're not killers. They are responsible for poisonings every year due to confusion with chanterelles. And then we have psilocybin slash psilocin. So these are the magic mushrooms. Psilocybin basically turns into psilocin when these mushrooms are bruised or handled. The psilocin is emitted. Um, Symptoms from consuming mushrooms containing psilocin happen pretty quickly, between 20 and 60 minutes after ingesting. You'll feel a mood change that could range from fear to euphoria to excitement to hilarity. Hallucinations often foul. Colors are very vivid. There's a distortion of time and visual perception, often a loss of coordination, dilation of pupils, rapid heart rate, and breathing. And in small children, high fever and seizures may develop. So, this, oh, and this is dose dependent. So you may know that people are taking small amounts of this now to kind of have a calming anti-anxiety effect. So this would be these pre-mentioned effects would be after eating, quite a few of these mushrooms. So, besides, unless you're a small child, one would just wait out this trip, and hopefully it wouldn't be too unpleasant. And so, one can just give reassurance that, it'll be over soon. So, here in New Jersey, you have psilocybe is the genus that we think of primarily when we think of psilocin containing mushrooms. And in New Jersey, you have three, as far as I can tell, three species: Psilocybe cerulipis, Psilocybe graveolens, Psilocybe ovoidiocystidiata. And on the left, I have a picture of this Psilocybe cerulipis that Mandy Quirk took and gave me permission to use. And you can see blue staining near the base of those stems. And so this is, a definite characteristic of the group. And on the right, another photo of Brandon's, the Psilocybe ovoidiocystidiata, and you can also see that blue staining there. But Psilocybe is not the only genus that contains psilocin. There's in New Jersey a Paniolus and a handful of Gymnopolis. Um, but psilocybe mushrooms, we pretty much talked about them, but I showed you pictures at least. They are blue staining. That's kind of the most telling feature. Otherwise, they're sort of a little brown mushroom again. They can grow on dung, on wood chips, on moss, on soil, and grass, and typically are lilac brown to I have a lilac brown to dark purple brown spore print. So here in Illinois, where I live, we do not have any psilocybe as far as I can tell. And I'm getting these lists, by the way, from a site called shroomery.org. But what we have containing psilocin are four species of Gymnopolis. So I have a picture of Gymnopolis subspectabilis on the left and G. luteus on the right. So these are typically have rusty orange colored caps and gills and very hardy stems. And then a ring. Um, we also have an Inocybaceae. So we talked about Inocybaceae containing muscarine, but they also, there's a species here and elsewhere that contains psilocin. And then we have a Paniolus and then a couple Pluteus as well that are known to contain psilocybin, psilocin. Here's a Inocybe insignis, a photo of Stephen Russell's, and you can see the blue staining. I don't know, do you guys have this actually? I think maybe you do, but tell me after. And so then aurelianine is another major toxin, deadly toxin, could be deadly. And try to go back, sorry. And these are typically found in the Cortinariaceae. And so in the past, I would have said in the Cortinarius, but this genus is in the process of being revamped and and split up into many genuses, maybe 9 or 10. Um, so commonly they're called web caps because they have this cortina, this web-like structure that protects the gills until the mushroom matures. So similar to a partial veil. And later that cortina often leaves a ring zone, like you can see in the type species on the left, the Cortinarius violacea. It has that brown kind of powdery zone, and then the Cortinarius armillatus, the banded cort, has more than one ring zone here in the center. And then we have actually a choice edible Cortinarius on the far right, Cortinarius caparatus, that actually has almost a real ring on it. So these have rusty brown spore prints. You could see that in the ring zone. And if you should eat a poisonous one, there's a delayed onset to the symptoms. So within 3 days to 3 weeks, symptoms occur, and they include vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, headache, feeling of coldness, eventually kidney failure, and death. So this it can be hard to trace back to the mushroom, the fatalities, and basically the kidney failure would be treated with dialysis or kidney transplant. So as far as I know, there's the genus Cortinarius, the genus that remains, has a couple uh, known toxic members in the U.S. We have this Cortinarius rubellus, so this would be deadly. It has this kind of red streaking on the stipe and the rusty orange cap and gills. And then we have this deadly oak wood cap, Cortinarius or orenanos. And this is a pretty old specimen, but it was about the best one I could find. And there's some pictures under UV light, which I guess can be very helpful when making identifications of Cortinarius. The other two are not in the United States, Cortinarius or Orlanus. Uh, I don't believe we have a beautiful mushroom. And this Cortinarius canarius, I believe, is just in Australia. That's really neat as well. So then we have gyrometrin, and so gyrometrin it turns into monomethylhydrazine, which is a compound in rocket fuel. Not something you want to ingest. If one were to, there's a latent period of 6 to 8 hours, followed by a feeling of fullness, vomiting, watery diarrhea for up to 2 days, headache, weariness, cramps and intense pain in liver and stomach, jaundice, breaking down of red blood cells, and it can be fatal. More fatalities have been caused in Europe, but it has occurred in the US. So stomach pumping, fluid replacement, poss oh, yep, that's not treatment. But you would treat the liver and kidney failure, can be fatal. Um, Yeah, so I might need to correct this, but I think there's not a ton. There's not a anecdote at any rate. So this is another huge group or large group that's been rearranged through DNA testing and through testing to find out whether the mushrooms contain the toxin or not. A lot of members of this group that we thought were toxic containing the gyrometrin actually don't. But those in the Gyrometra esculenta group, we would want to avoid. They have shown that they contain the gyrometrin. So these typically have a narrower stipe than our false morels that are being eaten. That stipe often is off color. It might have a purplish tinge to it. It's not bright white like a red morel, which is a gyrometra. If you're familiar with those, their stems are really quite white. And their caps are dark purplish red. And so this is most like these are my photos. So I have not had DNA testing on these, but I'm calling the one on the left Gyrometra venenata, which is one of the toxin-containing mushrooms. I found it in Wisconsin, and a lot of the findings for this mushroom are up in Wisconsin and other northern regions. And then on the right, Paragyrometra infuli, I also found up there. And these were found not during spring. So, I mean, it seems to me like the ones that are newly considered edible are more often coming out during morel season, whereas these I've found during other seasons. So then we have coprine, and this is an interesting one. So it's not really a toxin. It basically, it inhibits the ability to break down alcohol. So if you were to eat it without drinking any alcohol, within, like, let's just say to be completely safe, within, a 2 week period, if you ate these on day 7 and didn't have any alcohol in that 2 week period, you would have no ill effects. But if you were to have alcohol with these mushrooms or within 48 hours after eating these mushrooms, it's my understanding that even if you drink like within 48 hours before, that you can develop these symptoms. So the common name is Tippler's bane, and um, I'm going to get to the symptoms. And the symptoms are disulfiram is the compound in antabuse that makes alcoholics feel sick or someone who's trying not to drink. If they take this drug and take a sip, they start to feel sick. But apparently the coprine's much stronger. And symptoms include flushing of the face and neck, a metallic taste in the mouth, tingling of extremities, rapid heartbeat, feeling of swelling in the face and hands, nausea and vomiting, may foul, on occasion visual disturbances, vertigo, weakness, and confusion. So Coprinopsis atramentaria, the tippler's bane, is a graded brownish gray bell-shaped capped mushroom. The gills are whitish and then they become black as the mushroom deliquesces because this is an inky cap. So along with the shaggy mane and Coprinopsis variegata and Coprinopsis mycaceae, these mushrooms turn into a pool of ink, black ink, basically, as they age. Um, the mushroom has a howl, fibrous, equal stem, a black spore print, and Tippler's bane grows from roots around stumps. So this is a really typical presentation of the mushroom right here. And there's no known treatment. You would just wait this out. So those are the major toxins that we know about. I wanted to just add any wild mushroom that you eat, you always want to cook thoroughly. And there are some that, if they are not cooked, contain toxins like morels. So this picture, these morels are not cooked enough at all. They're just basically got thrown into the pan. You want to cook them much more till they're caramelized. And then also, because you can get very sick, and there's even been fatalities with some burn morel varieties or West Coast morel varieties that were undercooked, and people have died. But same with shiitake. Shiitake mushrooms should always be cooked thoroughly because there's a dermatitis that can develop. That it's a terrible rash in some people if from eating undercooked or raw shiitakes. I just want to name just a couple more real quick. The Paxillus and Voludis is a poisonous mushroom that may not affect you right away. It has a cumulative effect, from what I understand. It causes an autoimmune reaction, causing the body's immune cells to consider its own red blood cells as foreign and attack them. And this it has occurred after eating these mushrooms for years and having no problems in some people. And then just some last four that you want to be aware of is the vomiter, Russula amatica. It's a red Russula. Um, and I don't know much about the toxin, but just wanted you to know. And of course, we have the Scleroderma genus, the pigskin puffball that has the black or dark purple spores inside. I believe there's a Ramaria or two that can cause ill effect. Ramaria is a coral mushroom. Many are edible and good, but I think there's one or two that can cause some problems. And then Hapolopilus, the dye mushroom, it's a polypore and it grows on wood, and most of these polypores are safe, but this one can make you very, very sick. It's a popular dye mushroom. So these are just some of the references I used, and I just wanted to give thanks to the people who shared their photos with me, let me use their photos, and to Jeffrey Foxtrot, who's passed on but made that cool muscaroid distribution map, and the Dr. Dennis Benjamin, he's really a long time authority on these toxic mushrooms, and his book I highly recommend. So thanks for letting me share.
Super. Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Hunter. That was a lot. Wow. I
I
was
know a lot, but I think I did it
um,
in like 45 minutes, so not too bad. But
yeah,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great, Hunter.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. So have I stopped my share?
Yes, you have.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Hunter?
Hunter, you found the Gyromitra venata. I think that's one of the new names uh, that applies to the Esculenta group.
Yeah.
You didn't find that in spring?
I should look back. I can't say with 100% certainty, but typically I'm not morel hunting in northern Wisconsin, and so I think it was later.
Because that's a May species usually, the Esculenta group.
You think so?
Yeah, that now
Oh.
in Fula, that's a late summer fall species.
Yeah, I know I
Yeah,
found the other one
yeah,
in, July, August, maybe even later. I can look back. I'll try to do that.
yeah. I'd be interested because the only time I've ever seen the Esculenta types is in May, and
Okay. Well, we
but
get the
that might be a different species from what I have found here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, do you get the big red one? Do you
No, no, you know what? I think I saw Big
Caroline
Red in
Liana?
I think I saw one in New Jersey once a
Okay.
long time ago.
Yeah.
It's more of a southeastern thing, or lower Midwest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll try to check on that. Yeah, I kind of just assumed it was later because I don't normally hunt, much like morels up there.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I may be wrong. I'll double check.
Well, it may have been a fruit body that just persisted through dry weather. Also, it could have been there for a
Absolutely.
while. Hmm.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like a morel that would they I think probably could last longer.
Yeah.
I'll take a look. If I find anything out, I'll get back to you.
One other genus that where the mushrooms have amatoxins, I believe, is Pholotina rugosa group.
Oh,
I think they have amatoxins. I'm not sure.
oh, thank you. They
Yeah,
are poisonous, right? I mean, for
and
sure.
what kind of toxins are in Hebeloma? I don't know. It just
I
occurred to me that they're called poison pies. So
exactly. You know what? I haven't been able to determine. I don't think they know. That's why I
oh,
didn't include it, but I actually did mean to sort of like mention it at the end, but I don't think I have a good picture of a Hebeloma, so I it kind of got lost. But I don't believe they know the toxin.
right. Well, I'm going to have to leave pretty soon. I'm going to go to
NAMA.
the Mammoth thing. But actually, speaking of Hebeloma, I'm going to, if there's time now, and there's a few minutes yet, I can show you one that I
Wonderful.
found a couple days ago, believe
Oh,
it or not.
wow.
Yeah, see this plant that Karen bought,
Oh my
this
gosh.
potted fir tree that we got in lieu of a Christmas tree this year. We hope to plant it. And look in the right side of the picture. You'll see there's a mushroom there. See right there?
Yes.
Yep. And then, um, so I took a few more photos of it in situ. I harvested it. I studied it. It's almost certainly a species of Hebeloma, and I can point out a few traits that point towards Hebeloma. So the color, like a beigeish, whitish color, a little bit brown on the cap. The gills are brown. I didn't observe a spore print color. These didn't drop many spores. They did drop enough spores though that I was able to mount them in some melters, and which is something that you do with Hebeloma to try to assess uh, the level of dextrinoid reaction. So there's going to be a close up coming here in a little while also that'll show flaky scales on the upper part of the stalk. And maybe this one, if you can click on that.
That's as big as
And,
I can get it, Dave.
oh, that's as big. Okay, because they
Yeah.
probably cropped that. There might be
Yeah.
another one. You know what? I think there's a close up. I think I have a close up. The next photo, I think, might be well, maybe the one after this. I thought I had a close up. Ah, there we are. See how it's like these flattened, flaky scales? That's a Hebeloma trait.
Hmm.
Um, and also um the gills are notched a little bit. These gills are kind of weird. They're all like wavy, and that's a weird thing.
Yeah, is that
Um,
dried out or
it
no?
started to dry out in situ a little bit. Yes, and she was watering the plant. So there
Oh,
was moisture, the tree, she was putting
right.
water into so this is a mycorrhizal mushroom. Hebelomas are all mycorrhizal. I asked Henry Becker, the expert on this genus, and he says, yes, they are all mycorrhizal. And the spores are a pretty good indication these are Hebeloma also. Hebeloma have amygdala-form spores, meaning they're not symmetric. They're kind of almond shaped, so they're kind of humpbacked. Um, if it's possible to get a zoom in on this a little bit, maybe not because it's cropped.
Yeah.
Um,
I can see it though, like
yeah,
yeah.
you can see, but also some of them, a small percentage had a gutule, one single oil drop inside.
Yeah.
And also, some of them are papillate. Okay, so that means that on the one end, where the germ pore is, it's kind of looks like it has lips sticking out. So it's a papilla. I'm not even sure how to say that, but some I did see a few of these spores did have those traits, and also I got a photo of some Chylocystia that's coming up soon. By the way, I don't know what this diagonal line is. Something got scratched my camera or got inside my camera or something. So I don't know, but you can see how these spores are shaped like almonds, kind of. Um, and a few of them, like the one that's sort of in the middle, but a little lower, a little lower. That one, right? Yeah, that one. That one is papillate. So the upper part, I think, has the papillate, but you have to be able to zoom in a lot more to see that kind of stuff. So we're not. It's probably not going to be all that detectable. I've got some Chylocystia coming up here too. I got some photos of cystidia, and this photo right here is taken through my binocular scope, so it's not the best photo, but it does show the amount of darkening in melters, and those spores are from a drop. So these are weakly dextrinoid. They're just barely yellowish in melters. Um, and this is a trait. See, if you find a Hebeloma, you can go to Henry Becker's Hebeloma.org website and use this thing called identifier. But there's a lot of information you put into identifier, including the level of the dextrinoid reaction. So I put in D0, comma D1, which is not the weakest dextrinoid reaction, but it's pretty weak. But after I read a little more on Henry's website, I decided that maybe these were a solid D1 or even a D1, comma D2. Um, he does give it a nice explanation, a visual explanation of his D1, D0, D1, D2, D3 levels of dextrinoid reaction in terms of how the darkening on the spores and melters. But the kicker here was when this comes to trying to get at species are these Chylocystia, um, clavate, narrowly clavate, capitate. Um, and there's one more photo, stipitate. The next photo, I think, shows one that you could call stipitate. Look at that one. It's
Wow.
and then that sport photo was unintentional.
That
I
is
actually
cool.
managed to. Yeah, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it looks you can actually see some of the ornamentation. It looks like um, these are spores that did not. They were under the slip, um, but the mounting liquid did not like spread out into this part of the material. This was not from a print. This was from just a pit of gill that I smashed, and the liquid that I mounted in didn't make it to these spores. So these spores are dry, but they're under a slip, so they're kind of smashed down in almost into a plane. But I'm going to have to try this out on purpose, with some other spores.
It
So
looks like you use like one of those electromet.
electron microscope
Yes.
does actually, but it's not. It's just fake that good.
That's so good.
It is not that good.
Dave,
Um,
you were right. That Esculenta was May 22nd.
there
It,
you go. Yeah, the
yeah.
end of May. Yeah,
Sorry to
usually
interrupt,
those are found in May, and
yeah, thank
that's
you.
kind of late in May also. So that was probably around
But it was
for
up north, so yeah,
up north. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I filled in all these fields on Henry's website. Now, some of the microscopy, I'm not all that certain of. Loosening perispore. My scopes are not good enough to evaluate that.
I want,
Ornamentation, my
I
scopes
wanted
are
to
not
ask,
really good
I
enough.
wanted to ask about that
particular
Yeah,
loosening
well, it's
thing.
forget about it. You know what I did?
Yeah,
I filled in the field for loosening paraspore with every conceivable
yeah, yeah.
level to see how it changed the identity, and it
Right.
didn't. It didn't
Okay.
matter with this one. The
Nice.
Chyloscystidia are the spore size and the spore shape
Did
are.
you did you count the number
Yeah,
of gills
I counted that there were like 55. There were a
yeah,
lot of complete gills.
over 50? I think that's one of the delineation points.
Yeah, it was
All
over 50,
right.
it seemed like. I put 55 into the field, and I think that's pretty close to what it is. And the thing I got Hebeloma alpinum, a species of alpine meadows. But that Henry goes on to say that this species is not monophyletic. It's really a species group. It's really a clade, of these genetically similar species. And there might be differences in habitat and or morphology. There is one INAT observation of Hebeloma alpinum in eastern. It's not that far from where I live. It's in downtown Montreal, in a park near a cemetery. So that's not an alpine meadow.
Hmm.
So
Weird.
apparently this I'm pretty sure I've got Hebeloma alpinum. I think that's what I have here. I tweaked some of the fields on Henry's website, the ones that I wasn't sure of, like loosening paraspore and ornamentation, and they didn't seem to be changing. What I was getting was like anywhere from 60 to 85% likelihood for Hebeloma alpinum. So, and when you read the description, this sort of fits in. When you look at the collection that was found in Montreal by Yves Lemereau, it looks like this. It doesn't look like Henry's photo, but Henry's photo is like from Switzerland or something. You know, the this is Hebeloma alpinum is a European species, and apparently we have it here, or we have something very, very, very similar with very similar DNA. And on Henry's website, he goes into details about um, the phylogeny of the genetics of these of of the taxa that are in this group. And he said he looked at, I don't know, like 5 different areas in the genome, and there's no consistent way that he came up with of pinpointing Hebeloma alpinum. So it looks like it's a group,
Oh.
A genetic group. So I think that's what I have. But
Do you have it saved?
oh yeah, I went right in. I made sure I dehydrated it. Yeah, and I'm going to
Cool.
try to find somebody to sample it. I sent an email to Henry. We'll see if he has something to say.
On a macro level, is that tapered stem common with those?
Yeah, I don't think so. No, that's not really a Hebeloma thing. Usually the stems are pretty much equal.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think they're bulbous. I don't think you have like bulbous or clavate. They're usually pretty much equal. Um, but as soon as I got this out of the pot, I thought, oh, this looks like a Hebeloma. But the microscopy really supports that pretty well. So that's an unusual find. And these are called poison pies, so they have some kind of toxin in them.
Right.
Most of them, at least. Now, Alan Rockefeller has shown pictures online of Hebeloma mushrooms being sold in open air markets in Mexico. So apparently, there's at least one species of Hebeloma that people eat. Now, maybe it requires special preparation, like the Amanitas in section Amanita that have the what is it, muscimol or whatever is I
Right.
ibutolic acid or whatever they have. Those those so maybe it's that sort of deal, where you have to prepare them very carefully in a certain way. But anyway, that's I found that was found like a few days ago.
I'm so glad you shared that because it was on my list and then it got lost in the shuffle. So and I don't have any good photos. So
Yeah, well, that's I've got a lot. If you go on Mushroom Observer and doing a search, you can do these advanced searches on Mushroom Observer. You have to know the procedure. I'll send you an email. Send me an email, remind me, and I'll explain how to do the advanced search on Mushroom Observer. I have a lot of Hebeloma observations
oh
because
good.
I was making Hebeloma collections right and left a few years ago that I was preserving and sending to Long Island to Joel Hortman, who was working with Henry Becker. Henry is from Belgium. I wasn't sending the stuff to Belgium. I was sending the stuff to somebody who was Joel Hortman, who was working with Henry. Maybe Joel was doing the sequencing. I'm not sure, but I've some of the dots on Henry's maps are my collections from Pennsylvania. I think I even have one from New Jersey that ended up on one of Henry's maps. So
Nice.
yeah, but I've got a lot of Hebelomas. They are difficult to just look at and tell what species it is. Even with microscopy, it can be difficult. But apparently, this Hebeloma alpinum has a very distinctive chylocystidia. And I put a link into that observation that was just shared. There's a link in there in the notes or someplace. Or maybe I put it into a comment. I forget. But the link leads to a picture online, and I think it's one of Henry's pictures of Hebeloma alpinum chylocystidia, and they look exactly like those things that I photographed on my mushrooms. So I'm pretty sure that's what I have, really. It's very, very interesting.
Awesome. And I see Brandon put in Hypholoma fasciculare, which
Oh yeah,
also I
yeah.
totally spaced out. And then the toxins you mentioned, are those in the Hypholoma or did you find those were in the Hebeloma?
Well, Hypholoma and Hebeloma are not related.
No, I know,
Uh,
but he listed some toxins. I was just wondering
oh,
because it's not on the same
oh, I
like
don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
there's two Hyphilomas that Hyphiloma fasciculare and Hyphiloma subviridi. I think that one's also probably toxic. They look the same. And then there's these little Hyphilomas that who would ever think of eating them? Hyphiloma elongatum, I think, is one of them. Bogbodia uda, which is
I love
it's
that
very
name.
close to Hyphiloma. It's a
Yeah,
little brown mushroom that grows in bogs.
yeah, the
These things
ones that
might.
grow in bogs. I had to drop out. I keep dropping in and out, but we were just talking about Hypholoma fasciculare. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and subviridi too, which is like a small version of fasciculare that appears to be spreading northward.
But Brandon,
Subviridi,
I was wondering if that toxins you listed are in hypholoma that's what's in hypholoma, or did you find that was in something else?
That was copy and pasted from Myco Quebec. If you go to their page, you can actually copy and paste each section, including edibility or toxicity. So that was just copy and
uh,
pasted from Myco Quebec.
But for which genus? For hypholoma, I mean for hypholoma fasciculare?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go to the other thing, the NAMA thing.
Okay,
So yeah, good job, Hunter.
thank you for
And
coming. Yeah,
oh,
have
sure.
fun.
Yeah, it was entertaining and informative.
Good.
Okay, I'll see everybody next week.
See ya.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye
Dave.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, so good. We touched on a couple of more with the Hebeloma and the Hypholoma fasciculare. Does anyone have any poisonous mushrooms that they would like to share from from their desktop. I'm going to check the email, but I don't know as if I've heard from anybody else here. Let's see if anyone has emailed anything in. No, I haven't received anything more besides Dave's observation to look at. So would anyone care to share anything found recently?
I'll send some stuff in via email, but good job, Hunter. That was pretty good.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate your
I
help
mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of
with
effort went
photos.
into it. It was good stuff.
Thank
Um,
you.
little bit of feedback, maybe.
Sounds good.
Uh, Igor, are you still here on the muscaroid type things that you let off with? I think you had a persicina that you showed as chrysoblema, and then I think
No, no. Mm-mm.
no.
No.
Okay.
I'm still around here. I mean, I stayed for the whole thing. Nice presentation, Hunter. A lot of effort went into this show. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I still don't understand your question, Brandon.
Yeah, I just think I saw a persicina that was called a chrysoblema.
No, no, it's the muscaria variety Gusoe. It was called chrysoblema. Persicina is from the southeastern USA, and its upper northern range happens to be New Jersey.
And I showed that one. It was the bubblegum pink to
Right.
peach to dull red, and with the more subtle feller warts than, chrysoblema was the one the squirrel ate with the yellow cap, and the first one I showed. And then I did show an orange version, but it was from Illinois. And so it couldn't have been persis. Maybe that's what you're thinking, but it couldn't have been it because
Ah,
they're not up
maybe,
here.
Yeah,
maybe.
these things are quite variable, especially chrysoblema, if that's the name that's going to persist, after the dust
Yeah.
settles from the DNA. Persicina is, I think, more readily identifiable. It's peachy pink, but even that species is variable in my experience. Often enough, it doesn't have the partial veil. It's just not even there. Not that it's fallen off; it's just completely absent.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I was getting at. One of those was a rooting stipe with almost nothing, none of the rings at the base of it.
That was
Just
probably persicina because it has much more subtle concentric rings. Or were you
yeah.
thinking of the
No,
panther?
Yeah,
no. I was just it was one observation of one of the first things that you called chrysoblema. Uh, I think there was a sneaky uh, persicina in there. It
No,
it, it
it
had
wasn't.
it had almost no rings on the base, and it was really rooted. It had that kind of
Yes, that's the one I mentioned that it couldn't be persicina. I mean, I found it in Northern Illinois. So I showed it to our group, and I think we settled on chrysoblema. But yeah, it's got an orange hue, and the base is like covered in dirt. It's rooting looking, but it was extremely dry. So I think, I think the base was probably maybe squeezed. And it's too bad I don't have a better picture of the base of the other one. I can.
yeah. And I you guys know these things more than I do. That was the only thing that I noticed that I wrote down. Like, oh, was there a sneaky persicina in there with the other muscaria gasoii type deals.
Yeah, persicina should not be in Illinois. It's too far west and north. The map that Hunter showed was very instructive. Very nice. I'm not sure where it came from, but it showed the distribution range of the various taxa and subtaxa of muscaria. And again, I'm going to refer you to all that old paper by Gemmel et al. From 2008. I think I might have forwarded that publication to maybe Brandon. I forget already.
Yeah.
But I have, some observations, a few observations of persicina. I think the correct pronunciation is persicina. I could be wrong. So I can just, briefly show them in case we have time. And you'll see that it's, fairly variable in appearance. But overall, it's readily identifiable and separable from chrysoblema.
Igor, why don't you go ahead? Because nobody else has indicated they have anything to share tonight. So,
Okay, I can then share because I have MO open with all my observations of that taxon, or presumably that taxon.
okay.
So,
Okay, and I'll go look.
can I share now?
Yeah.
Is the link open? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see this?
Yes.
So this one here, 336,709, is a curious observation. My ID. Well, I wasn't sure how to call this now. I can see how the proposed name story has evolved. I just called it Amanita disturbs muscaria because I wasn't sure about its identification. It obviously it's from that group, but whether it was chrysoblema, aka muscaria variety Gisoia, or persicina, I wasn't sure about. Look at the vulva. It lacks the ring. It almost like has this saccate appearance, but obviously it's not a sac. So if I go through the yeah, and look at the cap color. It's almost like tomato, like with yellow velvet remnants. And here is that ring with partially still stuck to the gills as this fluffy, evanescent tissue. And here is this quote unquote vulva that still looks kind of at least limbate, which is very, very unusual for muscaroid. I mean,
Interesting.
it's a really strange presentation of the vulva, really, really bizarre.
Very.
But all these fruiting bodies look like this, and you can see I sliced it. You can see the limb. This is unheard of in muscaroid taxa. You just have concentric rings or semblance of, but you never see that kind of thing. This is more typical for section phalloides, if anything.
And I hate to interrupt, but I did find a picture with a base of the mushroom that Brandon was concerned about, a base of another one of it, one of the younger ones, and you can see the concentric rings real good. It's in the chat.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, and that was the picture that I was wondering about,
Yeah,
where it's almost that it's almost
Lepidella.
non-existent. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I think it was just so dry. Like I said, I think it got squeezed, but the younger one looks more normal, doesn't it? In the chat.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And again, uh, not my thing. I was just wondering about that one in the photo.
Yeah, I'll take a look at those pictures. So anyway, this specimen actually is in our herbarium at Rutgers. So in theory, we can pull it out and get it sequenced to see whether this is persicina or chrysoblema, because the ITS sequences of those two species, I think, are sufficiently different, or we can try other loci as per Gemmel et al. 2008. This collection here came from Brandenburn State Forest, a tract that's outside of the main territory. It's across the road from Route 72, but it's still Brandenburn State Forest. And I think this is more or less kind of a classic look of persicina. You get the bulb with essentially no concentric rings. They're very subtle. It's more like scruffiness in there. I'll go over the pictures and look at the cap color. It is sort of peachy pink, at least in the young fruiting body, and darker, more kind of a pink brick red in the older ones, and the vulva is white. But yeah, see, no ring. It's not like it wasn't, it was there and fell off. I think just like no ring at all.
Yeah, I never see real like rings on
Yeah,
those.
here's the vulva. There's an indication maybe of a concentric ring or two, very shallow and sort of stretched out, but the remaining part of the vulva is presented as this oppressed pulverulent or felty material that's spread around on the upper portion of the bulb. And here's the younger fruiting body, no ring, and look at the vulva, chrome yellow or egg yolk yellow. So all these things were found together. And there's some whitish pulverulent material on the edges of the cap on the actual skin. You can see here. And I wouldn't call this, there's also something that looks like appendiculate, but this is not appendiculate. I think it's just part of the, I don't know, maybe the evanescent partial veil that's sort of kind of stuck to the edge like in lepidella. But typically Amanita section Amanita don't have appendiculate cap edges. I mean, that's really an aberration. So this collection was both sent to Rattavas, and part of it is also in our herbarium. So that's the good news. You can still see the evanescent partial veil kind of stuck on the gill edges. So apparently it's there, but it's not there. It's so thin and flimsy that it doesn't even actually form a ring on the stipe. Yeah, and this is the vulva on the young fruit body. So yeah, I think it is persicina, but I think still it's a somewhat unusual presentation in some regards. Maybe one more. Well, this one is found almost every year or every other year at this location at FPP that I remember very well. And it's just a bleached out presentation of persicina. But you can notice the bulb, whatever portion is seen, doesn't have the concentric rings. I mean, typically in chrysoblema or as we call it, Gusoae, muscaria Gusoae, rings come around here, but they're not visible here at all. The vulva has a different presentation, so I'm pretty sure this is persicina. And I didn't save it. No, this was from last year. I just left it where it was. Didn't even pick it. So that's all I probably have to say about persicina. It is fairly rare in New Jersey, but you will find it, once in a blue moon. Wells Mills County Park. See, no ring. And the bulb doesn't have the concentric rings, but still has this sort of weird presentation of the vulva. So I'm pretty sure this is persicina. Again, the cap is peachy pink. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing, and we can talk more about different stuff. Do you have any questions about these? Any comments?
The really red one, I found a couple down south that had that color as well. So, and but I don't have good pictures of the stem or anything, the stipe bulb, or
Right.
unfortunately. So I won't show them, but
Yeah, like I said, the first one that I showed with that unusual presentation at the base of the stipe of the vulva, um, there's a chance it's not persicina. It could be, I don't know. Who knows what's going on? We have specimens, so we can sequence them.
Yeah, we should pull that one and get that in the queue to be sequenced. That was a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I think we should pull both. The one that I showed as a second set, the one that looked more like persicina.
Hmm.
Um, I'm pretty sure there are multiple sequences of the species in GenBank because it is so common in the southeast.
Okay.
But I do expect to see some kind of a um, cline, like intraspecific variability in the sequences as we go from New Jersey all the way down to the Gulf area. There's got to be a variation in ITS, different populations, and so forth. So there's going to be a little bit of jitter in ITS.
All right. Hey, Shihong, I see you're on. Golly, it's been a month probably. You had sent some in back, some observations from the 11th, the 10th and 11th of January. Did they ever get shown? Did you ever talk about those?
No.
All right. I'm going to bring them up then. Let's see. Here, I got to share. Here we go. Okay, this isn't anything we've talked about yet today, but
Yeah, totally unrelated. So this one was pretty recently at Round Valley. I think it's the weekend right before the first snow.
oh, before the big snow came? Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what this is, but it's right on this mossy area
Mhm.
by the lake. And I was just surprised that this winter you still see them.
Hmm. Okay. Is that it for pictures? Just the one picture of?
I
Okay.
think it's just one picture. I try to have them at different orientation. They're fairly small.
Hmm.
Did you save this material, Shihong?
No, I did not even bring it back.
Wow. The gills look stark white, so the spore print could be white as well, but I'm not sure. This sort of has an appearance of maybe some Hebeloma, but I don't think this is Hebeloma. Although colder weather would make sense, especially after what Dave had found growing in his tree pot. Um, I see some furfuraceous stuff on the stipe at the apex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that consistent with what he was talking about, what Dave was mentioning?
Yeah, I heard about that property of some Hebelomas, have that feature.
Hmm.
But look at these gills. I don't think this is Hygrophorous. They're not decurrent, they're notched, right?
Yeah. Definitely notched.
So this was at the Round Valley Park.
Round Valley Park by the lake, by the reservoir, in one of the camping site. I can even remember the camping site number 47.
Round Valley is
Yeah.
which township is this in?
This, I don't know.
Reddington Township. Looks like,
Lebanon.
yeah, Reddington.
Lebanon. Okay, so this is just above 78, right?
Just
Just
below.
below it.
Or just
Below it.
below it, okay.
Yeah.
I'm confusing with another park above 78.
Yeah, Spruce Run is right
Spruce Run,
next
yeah,
to
that's
up there. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's where somebody found morels, I think, right?
Yeah, this is the same park where
Ming. I think
Yeah,
Ming
Ming.
found
me
them
found the, yeah,
over here
yeah.
somewhere.
It's on the other side of the hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been there, even though I passed it probably many times or close to it.
Yeah, I think that stipe feature, uh, I'm looking at other pictures of Hebelomas, and it looks like it's a pretty good match.
Hapolopilus.
Yeah, I remember one year we had a fairly warm December, and a bunch of us, including Dave, were at the NGMA party in at the church, the Unitarian, and we found Hebelomas there too, growing with some nearby trees at the top of the hill where the building is.
Hmm.
I think Dave has that observation. It must have been before the pandemic.
Okay. Nice.
So they do have a tendency to come out quite late,
Yeah.
although January is probably unheard of.
Yeah, this is January.
How did he describe that feature that you can see on the far right stipe up right there? Yeah. How do we describe that? Or doesn't it look similar to what he was showing us?
It's like this furfuraciousness.
Oh, okay. Perforaciousness. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Thank
probably a
You might have said it. I had to walk away for a second, so I'm sorry. Okay.
yeah. You can see it consistently in the other two fruit bodies if you look kind of closely.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then it's really strange because the weather actually has been well below average after mid-November throughout all these months, and yet these things came out in the middle of a very cold winter, which is unusual.
Yeah, this is really before the really cold times. I think it's what date was that? January. Yeah, January 11, 10. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that first several days, I think, or between the 3rd and the 12th was actually warmer above average, but
That's right.
the
Yeah.
weather in December, preceding that was much colder. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And this was the very next day in, I forgot which park in Morristown. I believe it's kind of some kind of a jello mushroom, but it just looks much pinker than what I see usual.
Yeah, it's a cup fungi, right?
Yeah, it's kind of pink.
Yeah. Yeah, almost purplish.
Yeah.
Auricularia?
No, it's ascocoring, isn't it? Or do we not agree with that?
I don't even know that name.
Yeah, this is from AI suggested. I wasn't sure if if it's the same thing, but it looks just so pink.
That
I,
looks
I
similar.
think it is. I think that's what you
Okay.
have. I've found it, and I've found it in cold temperatures as well.
Okay.
There's two species, and I think they have like two stages too. But I think that that's right.
Okay. It looks like it. I don't really know this. I may have seen it once.
Never heard of this genus before, but then I'm not into these things anyway.
Yeah, it's really well decayed wood
Yeah.
going on. Yeah. All right, well, good.
All right. Thanks for helping me. I did them.
Thanks for being out there and finding stuff. All right. Let's see. Did anybody send anything in? No. All right. Anything else that people want to show and talk about?
Let me see if I can find an ice sculpture of a chanterelle. I want to share with you guys. Let's see if I can find it.
Okay.
Give me a few minutes. Let me see.
All right. Well, you're looking for that. I got one thing I'll bring up here. It may be, maybe Jason knows something about these things. I don't know. Are you still here, Jason? These
Yep, I'm here.
spiders that get covered by some sort of
Yeah.
fungus in basements.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah, that one's overexposed with I think the flash went off, but yeah, that's really something covered it up. It was not easy to get any kind of a photo, so. But yeah, so I went with INAT's best suggestion. It seems like it's this Engodontium arenarium. Let's see what those look like.
So that's not any sort of cordyceps type thing.
No, I don't believe so. I think this is just some fungus that grows on the surface of the spider and kills the spider eventually.
Looks
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, that is really cool.
So I think that's what I have, but
Yeah, there's quite a few INAT observations of this on spiders in basements.
yeah. I love how things are so very specific like that. Certain
Yeah.
environment, and that's what they like. All right. Did you
It
find
says,
your
yeah, just
Yeah, I found it too.
Wikipedia says that this fungus parasitizes uh, a particular species of spider, Phocus phalangioides, which is called the long-bodied cellar spider. So it's not so much that the fungus likes the basements so much as the spider that is host is likes basements.
like the basement, so hence the fungus ends up there. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, 100% mortality in infected spiders. Yeah. Yeah, and it must be um spread pretty easily because there were several of these in this particular basement scattered about. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think that that particular species of spider is introduced to New Jersey. It's a Western Asia species, which is why it's typically found in buildings.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Shihong, did you find your...
I found it. Let me see if I know how to share from my iPhone.
Okay.
Never shared before. Let me see. How do I share from?
I know. Christopher, he's the expert. He can help you.
Is he here, Chris?
Yeah, it should be right in the if you're holding your phone vertically,
Yeah.
you have to hit the more button.
All button. Okay. Yeah, I saw it. Share photos. Am I share yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet.
It'll say something. It'll bring up like a prompt usually, and then you'll have to like hit start share, and then it'll do like this little like countdown.
Start broadcast. Free broadcast. Is that the button?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember how it's labeled, but you gotta like hit start whatever,
Free
and
broadcast.
it'll. Oh yeah, well, there you go.
Okay. Let's see.
And then you just open whichever window. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it is.
Okay, did you see this?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Someone sent this picture. It was taken at Lake Geneva in Wisconsin.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, it's not too far away from you.
No, it's really not. That is so cool. How
Yeah.
tall is that? It's
You can see
huge.
people really behind that. It is huge, right?
Yes. Wow.
I have two pictures. Let me see the next one. Yeah, this is from a different direction.
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Not the land of cuckoo clocks, chocolate, and watches, eh?
I don't know.
Switzerland. No.
Not Switzerland, no.
Man, whoever made that loves a chanterelle. I mean,
Yeah.
they really nailed it. The whole thing. Even the little ones.
How do you remake this thing? I mean, this is out of ice.
Ice or snow? I think it's snow, right?
Might be snow, so white. Yeah.
No.
Packed snow.
Yeah. Like we make snowman, they make snow mushroom.
Yeah, but look at the texture,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's completely like
Right?
solid. You don't see the graininess of the snow in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be like maybe they compacted the snow a lot, like there was like a block of compacted snow that they made, and then out of that they carved out, the sculpture, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, this is art. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never make another snowman. I got something else to do.
Can we zoom in on the morphology?
All right.
Yeah, look at that. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, look at the texture. Even the texture is correct. Look at the stipe. Wow.
Yeah, they knew what they
mean,
were doing.
how did they make this? I
I have
wonder.
no idea. All right. I want to stop sharing. Let's see. How do I do this? Stop sharing. Okay, great. So now I know how to share from my phone.
All right. Well, thank you, Shihong. That was really fun. That was different.
Yeah, it's really different.
I mean, I guess in the spirit of that, I have some interesting share.
All right, go for it.
This was at the State Museum in Trenton, New Jersey. In one of their little things, they had a special exhibit on uh, like habitat loss and stuff, and little replicas of some lexinums there and tricholomas.
What are these made of, Chris, and
That's
who
not
made them and
tricholoma.
when?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, they don't look like in the best shape. Like maybe they've been in the museum here a while.
Wait a second. This is not a tricholoma.
They
What does the
there's
label say?
Yellow Knight.
Yeah, but they don't have tricholomas don't have rings.
no. It was funny because I was like, I don't think these people know what they're looking at here on
So
some
one
of
of
them.
the other ones, a tricholoma, are the labels just?
No,
Reverse.
no,
Oh, that's
that one.
The other
That
one
looks
is
like
a black trumpet.
Cortinarius capernatus.
Caparatus, yeah.
Yeah, capernatus.
so. What's the third label to the left? I mean, it's definitely not bolete.
No, no.
No,
Oh, that's
that's
not.
a
Yeah,
that's a
okay. So
black trumpet, I
Cantharotus.
think.
none of them have rings. None of
That's a black trumpet.
yeah.
And what does the label say there?
On the trumpet.
Yeah.
It does say black trumpet, right?
Crater.
Ornaplenty.
Cornaplenty, yeah.
Yeah.
They got that one.
Can you scroll down to show the details of the lexinum? I'm just curious. No, the label.
There we go.
Lexinum section subsection lexinum. Now let's see the specimen.
It's not it's not the greatest. There is a bit of the stuff on the stipe there
I
that
can
was
see the scabers in the stout presentation stature, suggests sectional lexinum. This would not be the more elegant looking section scabra. So yeah, okay. The caps are a little bit too brown for my taste, but that's okay.
yeah, it was funny. I took the picture and I joked. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to show these at Taxonomy Tuesday."
And I'm glad they didn't go beyond the sectional assignment.
Yeah.
That was smart.
So yeah, those are the mushrooms I found this weekend.
So this was a museum of some kind. I missed that.
Yeah, the State Museum in Trenton.
Yeah, we should go back and tell them that the ideal label for that mushroom on the upper right that's wrong. It's not tricholoma.
I'm not there to correct the museum. No way.
Uh, well, they should be
Th-
corrected
There,
because
there, there, there's people there milling around who thought everything in there was great.
well, we don't care about those people. We care about the
So what did you think that was?
uh,
Caparatus?
oh, I don't know. It just didn't really
Yeah.
look like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, the ring
tricholomas.
was funnel shaped. Caparatus has a more oppressed narrow ring that it does have a funnel shaped thing a ring.
Yeah, there's some interesting little replicas about that museum that are funny.
Oh,
Well,
speak.
somebody's got to challenge that idea because it's they're spreading out misinformation.
Speaking of tricholoma, there are some poisonous tricholomas that I also didn't mention.
That's true. Well, you can't cover it all in even 2 hours, right? We drudging up stuff, but
Yeah, that they're poisonous boletes, right? At
yeah.
least two species that we know of here in Eastern North America. One being Griseocarnius. I would not be surprised because it is a member of a genus called Anthracoporus, and that's a genus described from China. The paper is inaccessible. Actually, it's a book. $200 for the book. I don't think so. And the other one is Rubroboletus rhoda sanguineus, which is going to be actually deprecated in favor of the earlier name by Smith and Thiers. I already forget what it is. I have to look it up. But anyway, so that's a Rubroboletus, and I think Rubroboletus overall is just poisonous through and through. So do not eat that one.
Yeah, I think Hunter, you mentioned that the river Boletes, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah, Satanus or Satanus
Yeah.
and Colopes, I think it is.
Yes, Satanus is from Europe. It's Istvudiae, I think, is the one. And the one that actually caused allegedly a death of somebody in the early 90s. I forget that species name. I have to look it up. So I think that's where the knowledge sort of comes from. That this genus is poisonous. Satanus is a well-known sickener, from Europe, and like I said, the whole genus is poisonous. Should be avoided. Fortunately, we only have one species here in the East, and it's not a very common mushroom. Never seen in New Jersey.
So
Good.
I have something I can share real quick before we sign off.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody shared this yet already, but this is
Rubroflamius is that name I was thinking about.
The one in the east?
Yeah, but Rubroboletus rhoda sanguineus will be deprecated in favor of Rubroboletus. What did I just say?
Lamius.
Rubroflamius. Yeah, that's the name that Smith and Thiers gave originally to that species back in 1971.
So this is something that just came out maybe a week or two ago by the Pennsylvania Biological Survey, their mycological technical committee. It's a 68-page document with a series of articles written by different people, including two by Dave. So I'll put the link to this in the chat in case people haven't seen it.
Nice. I want to see that.
The importance of fungi. Can you zoom in on the on the bolete in the upper left?
Oh,
Yeah, I know what this is. Or yeah, well, it's Retiboletus ornatopes or something like that.
Looks like it.
Oh, well, we have more than one species. That's the problem. So genetically.
What's the one the third from the top?
third from the top.
Yeah,
Nice
In what
porcini.
direction?
that one. Yeah. That one.
This one?
No,
Well, that's
Portuguese.
the
This
porcini.
one?
Yeah, this one. That's a cool one.
This
But
guy?
And the Amanita on the second row on the right. That's a lepidella of some kind. Probably Dorsipes. That'd be my guess.
that veil
Another
is
one,
something else.
Pinellas,
Pardon me?
the underside of Pinellas, maybe on the top row, number 3.
Yeah, Pinellas.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So there's a link to this.
In the chat, I thought Sue was going to get a link put on the web. on our website someplace, but I was just looking for it. I don't see it. So ask her to do that. Looks like she's dropped off. Emily, do you have anything that you want to announce before we go? Do we know what our topic is next week?
We're gonna do some backyard fungus.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got backyard next week. Don't have anything else to announce right now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop the recording then. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Lila.